Like, if Obelisk the Tormentor was walking around town tormenting people, he'd be, that's who he would be. He'd be that motherfucking statue that was in there. Like, that shit is crazy. Like, he looks insane. That's why I was like, dude, this statue is, like, there's something about this statue. Everything that I may have missed only from season 2, episode 1. And I'm gonna watch the next 3, because I think he put out 3 videos. I don't think he did the 4th one yet. So, because the 4th episode just dropped. Bro, I gotta stop cussing. I keep cussing.
Season 2 opens with all the glorious action we could ever want from a solo leveling anime. Sung showed off in more ways than one. His shadow soldiers got to participate in the
aura farm, yeah,
battle, and Icarus styled on his
it.
opponent like he was Let Me Solo Her fighting against Millennia. With all those...
And Jacob, if you still in here, look at that. They already threw in an Elden Ring type of reference, my dog. If you love solo leveling, you're gonna love Elden Ring. I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you.
Amazing scenes filling up the episode, though.
It's solo leveling.
It's easy to forget about the
game
overall
in the
story
game for real.
This is something the
hey,
novel building up.
I wouldn't be surprised if solo leveling
like, how did this gate become
was the script?
Why does Sung feel a personal responsibility to help out Song Yi, and what's going on with everyone else in the story? There's quite a bit the novel adds which build upon the story, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about here. Everything the anime left out from the manhwa and web novel. So, if you want to see what else solo leveling has to offer beyond its continuous string of conflicts, stick around because it really does make the world that much more captivating. There's 54 to 62 from the web novel. To start with Sung's preparations for the meeting, there were quite a few things he needed to get done beforehand. He needed to find clothes that actually fit, and he needed to...
What do you mean he had a headache? You die like 20 times and you're like, oh my god. Oh, fuck. Bro, I feel the same way when you're playing like a multiplayer game. You just keep dying. You just keep shooting shit on by these damn sweaty 5-year-olds. This Dirk fan, dude. Can't be playing against that dude in Fortnite.
To secure money to allow him to buy said...
Look, but if you gotta insert yourself, let's say you are Jinwoo, right? You are Jinwoo. That's the thing, though. Like, you gonna get pissed in multiplayer games. You might as well get a little bit more out of it in a solo player kind of game. I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you, though. You give it a chance, it's gonna open your mind to like solo games. They're so good. Been grinding the new Tokyo Extreme Racer. What is that? What, they got like Need for Speed bosses you gotta beat?
Clothes. All his previous formal wear now burst at the seams since he was so much bigger.
Highway racing game.
This was a predicament that ended up solving itself because out of the corner of his eye, Sung had spotted the bank book Jinho gave him. Within it was all the money the two had earned from selling the magic crystals they found during their raids together. Sung wasn't sure.
This is when he didn't cut his hair yet.
He figured he'd be able to go on a shopping spree using it. It was before he did, though, that first Sung would review his status.
Dang,
he couldn't
bro.
help but admire just how lengthy it had become. It wasn't until just yesterday that quite a few of these slots were empty.
He really
though,
needed that
now
fade.
That they were filled, he felt a great sense of pride and accomplishment. In fact, before, when the job class section always listed none, Sung would get frustrated.
What's my IG? Dirk Lifts. DURKLIFTS. Let me speak to your father. Let me speak to your mom. I'm gonna talk to your mom. We're about to have a parent-teacher conference.
Did every time he saw it. He knew it didn't actually mean he had no job, but the message he interpreted from it constantly bothered him. It was as if it was making a mockery of who he was before the system. Sung knew this was nothing more than his inferiority complex talking, but it couldn't be helped considering what he'd always had to go through.
His ego talking to him.
You see, after years of introducing himself as the E rank, the shame he felt knowing people were always mocking him behind his back really stuck with him even now. Now that he had a really cool job class though, Sung was completely and utterly satisfied with himself. No longer was he worried about other people's perception of him. No,
Facts.
He was more so intrigued by how people would react to him now. Like, just thinking about Jinho's stunned face when he would finally get to see his shadow army, that was enough to put a massive smile on his face. It was this thought which led Sung to think about what his new powers were capable of, going so far as to ponder if he could extract shadows from hunters. Obviously, such a situation wasn't one he'd ever want to be in, but the thought of doing—
Look, that was totally genius on the part of the writers. I thought that was fucking genius. The fact that not only you could take mobs and enemies that are like from the system, but taking people? Oh my god, bro. That's scary. Imagine if he decided to fight against every single S rank, or just hunt them down like one at a time, bro. And his rank is, you know, like above them, and he's just taking them. And he could probably like upgrade his backpack, I guess you would say, right? So he's not like over encumbered with all the summons he's got. Like, that's insane. Even crazier if he could access the Shadow's memories as well, because that, I never thought about that too. Taking their memories? Holy shit. Because he can, oh my god, imagine if he could gain, like, download all the battles that Igris had, and then just copy the whole blueprint of like how Igris fights, and just take out the pieces that he doesn't like, or like take out the weaknesses and then replace them with like Iron's abilities that he's learned as being a tank. Like, oh my god, dog, he'd be so fucking OP. Appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate sharing that. I didn't even think about that. Hey, Gabby, if you in here, I want you to take a picture with your mom and your dad and then show it on IG so we can lay this to rest. And I'll blur out your face. No, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I'm not that gullible yet. You need to take a picture with, you need to take a family picture. You need to take a picture with your mom and dad next. And then I'll believe you. Take a picture with your mom and dad. And then I want you to have deuces up, and I want you to wave with the other hand like this. And we're going to put it on stream. And I'm going to blur your face because, you know, I don't want to put sensitive information out there. I would think that Igris would just go train and learn new moves to be useful. Also, did I see a devil fruit plush? Yes, this I got for Christmas by actually two of the homies. One, Tony, shout out to Tony, and my friend Diana. She made this. This is so nice. This is crazy. Like, this is probably one of the coolest birthday gifts that I got. Like, look at that. That's straight up quality. This was amazing. Like, I have no idea how long this took, but this is just the ridges on here. It's just so accurate. I can't stop appreciating this thing. So I gotta leave it up here, you know, right on the shelf. Oh! Silver comment, appreciate that. Yeah, I'm saying, like, if Igris... Oh yeah, Igris would just keep getting better and better and better. You gotta download all of that. But let's see what else is going on.
Doing so gave him chills. He couldn't even fathom how powerful the shadow of an A or S rank hunter could be. Even if it was only 50% of their original
He
strength,
got so lucky.
Sung fully
50%?
believed the presence of one would allow him to solo high-rank dungeons. So, the only thing preventing him from committing to the idea fully was the thought of how
crazy.
sinister such an act was.
If you could fuse him,
Unless a truly evil hunter showed up to give him
like some
trouble,
Digimon shit.
Sung wasn't willing to subject anyone to that. No. For now, he knew he'd just have to be satisfied with his shadow monsters. The level 7 Night Grade Igris was more than powerful enough. Now, in addition to everything—
Wait, so Igris, whenever he took Igris' shadow, it's only 50% of its true power? Damn. And he was still stronger than... The shadow was still on par? No, I don't think his shadow was on par. Yeah, I think his shadow was on par with him at that moment. That's crazy.
Things Sung had earned from the job quest dungeon, he had also gained 10 additional ability points. Before, these would have been put right into agility and perception, but now that his shadow skills operated on mana, every single point went into intelligence instead. It was still miles behind strength than the others, but Sung didn't plan on it being that way for long.
If he could respect too, that'd be crazy.
He was gonna change the way he fought though, since for now these shadow skills would just be his backup. His dagger was always gonna remain as his primary means of combat. It was too much of a waste to throw away everything he'd already put into it so far. Still, Sung was amazed
when, oh my god, like that was such. He's not strong enough to unlock Eagre's full potential. So it's possible though. It's possible to get Eagre's full potential. When Sung just dropped those daggers and Eagre's was like bet and dropped the sword, that was probably one of the best intros to a fight, to be honest, that I've seen. Like, because it's like Eagre's would be a monster, right? Or a beast. Is that what they would classify them as? Or they call them something else? Are they? Because I don't want to be spoiled and then find out that these are actual real people or something like that, right? Because Eagre's was a S rank, let's say beast, right? Like that is insane. And then yeah, because he gave Eagre's the speech is like, don't just go to waste right here, right? If it did work, if he did have a heart-to-heart with Eagre's, and that was the only way that he was able to get him. Oh man, and also, the fact that Eagre's is gonna be ranking up from here on out. Eagre's is like Pikachu and Ash. It's just gonna keep getting stronger without needing like an evolved form. But if they give Eagre's evolved form or something like that, or some wings or some shit, I don't know, bro. Like a Crucible Knight, like that's crazy.
At just how useful his shadow skills were, since that single aspect alone, allowing him to extract bosses through it, made it so much more incredibly valuable. So, 20 minutes would pass with Sung thinking about his powers, then another 3 after where he would use said powers to help himself get ready faster. He didn't know yet how best he was going to use Commander's Touch, but at the very least he could have it help him retrieve his keys from the kitchen. Now, it was on his way to the bank that Sung couldn't even begin to imagine how much money was in this account. Usually Jin...
Alright, so if they gonna touch up on that, okay. Yeah, I would use my powers like that too, bro. I would definitely use my powers if I'm in the shower and I was like, oh shit, I forgot, I gotta brush my teeth, but I ain't got time to get out and shower. I'm gonna just use my abilities to pull my toothbrush and toothpaste and just go ahead and get it done at the same time. I wonder if he can use it as like telekinesis too. He could just, nah, he probably can't do like more than one object at a time, huh? Oh wait, he could, but he gotta rank it up, right? Like there's some things he can't move. Dude, I'm expecting Jinwoo's abilities to be so strong. He's gonna be like Pain in Naruto and do like planetary devastation and just pull the moon out the sky with his ability, because that's how crazy. Apparently everybody's saying how strong this man's gonna get. He's about to pull the moon out the sky just so he can kill somebody like a SS, bro. There's a reason why Eagre's is stronger than him, but was still able to capture him. Okay, see, that's what I like. I enjoyed the speech, you know, that he gave him. You know, it was like, come with me or just die here for no reason. And you're like, you know what, I like the way you think. He's like, I guess I go, you know, fight everybody else. All right. He's gonna go beyond that. Planetary devastation, like Pain. Oh.
Jinho shared everything with him, but when it came to money, Jinho didn't talk about it at all. It was just one of those things.
He's one of my favorite characters. I ain't gonna lie, because he's just so plain.
Puts into perspective just how
I like him.
Is because when Sung had gone and checked the balance of the account, it was revealed to have over $1 million in it. In a single week, Sung had earned himself well over $100,000 a day. Each C-rank dungeon had netted him between $150,000 and $200,000 in revenue. The teller would then try to sell Sung on the VIP services the bank offered, giving him his first taste of what being a
look, if I start reading it, I'm not gonna stop. What's gonna happen is gonna be like 9 p.m. I'm gonna be eating. I'm gonna be reading it, just swiping on my phone, just reading every panel, and it's gonna be 5 in the morning, and I'm just be, damn. You really gonna do that? You okay? You got something to prove. He's a real one. He sure is. I ain't gonna lie. I was giving him, a little bit of, not really slack or like pushback on the aura farming, but he did come a long way. All of season 1, right? He was getting, picked on for being like the lowest, and that man was actually putting his life on the line more than a lot of them other niggas was doing. Like, they was all scared about going into the double dungeon, which he was for good reason, but the fact that he was an E rank, had like no magic power, pretty much had nothing, was scrounging up change to get some weapons, which weren't even worth a damn, and was still about that life. He was about that life to go in there and actually get fucked up. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I think season two, he deserves to, aura farm as much as he can. But in season 3, I would like them to dial back the aura farming and then put the cut content in that they would cut out. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they can still have him like aura farm a little bit. Like they did him nice with the fade and stuff like that.
High-ranking Hunter felt like it was something he knew he'd have to get used to, because the moment his new rank became public, he would effectively become a celebrity. Another change was the wealth
he had everything stacked up against him, and it pissed me off that everybody else ran out. But they weren't wrong to like be wanting to run, because they literally was all gonna die. Now, if all of them stood on business like Jinwoo did at the end in front of the big statue, right? I feel like they all deserve some kind of little bit of power up. But he's the main character, so I can see why it was only applied to him. You know, I still think it was a little dirty how they done killed off the other people. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched season 1, how they killed off the other people, the ones that apologized, like the other 2 workers, like, because they wasn't that bad. Like, they apologized to him, like, he's about coughing up blood. He got stabbed up by that serial killer that was an A rank, right? He done got stabbed up by that dude, and it's like, damn, they knew how bad they was for running and leaving everybody behind, and they apologized, and they was genuine about it, and they still got fucked up. It's like, damn.
Lurching at a department store, Sung would come to see why having money was way better than not having money. He would then head to the school, reminisce of the time he had these interviews himself, then remember how no one ever showed up for them. It wasn't because his parents were neglectful though, but rather because he simply didn't tell them.
Yeah, I feel like the healer, she stuck around too. Like, she definitely was keeping him alive. Like,
Sung didn't want to burden her
his
with
first
something
wounds
so
he had
trivial.
when she healed him.
Now, the interview went pretty much as we saw, finishing up with the request to help Jinna's friend Song Yi. As soon as Sung heard that she was in E rank, he immediately knew it wouldn't be long before she was either dead or crippled. Such was the fate for those ranked at the bottom. The dungeon was simply no place for an E rank. Normally Sung wouldn't have cared at all, but because she was a person he was somewhat acquainted with, he felt a certain responsibility to teach her why the dungeon wasn't for her. So, when Sung had gone to pick her up to take her to the raid, that's when he saw her circumstances weren't very different from his own. She lived in a place that indicated she wasn't very well off, and that made it clear that she was likely just trying to provide for herself.
Hey, she gonna come back in season 2? The healer girl? She gonna come back? Because I just want to know. I just want to know. She's a bad thing. Funny as hell. I can't put this chat over. You don't think so? Okay. So she's not gonna be back for season 2. The reason why I asked is because it was like she was his MJ. If we're thinking about Spider-Man, okay. She reminded me of, like, MJ for Spider-Man. Like, he always got to keep her safe, but then he kind of like had to like tell her, like, look, it's not safe for you to be hanging around me. Like, he had to like tell her like that, like, because it seemed like he liked her a lot. He was in love with her and stuff like that. And or actually, she might have been more in love with him. I ain't gonna lie.
This was a reason Sung knew he couldn't judge her for, since he too did the exact same thing. He had put himself in harm's way just to provide for his family. So, as much as Sung wanted to stop being a hunter back then, he knew he couldn't because his mother's life depended on it. Sung Yi's circumstances may not be exactly the same, but she could have her own reasons as to why she needs to keep being a hunter. Either way, Sung was going to show her exactly what awaited her in the dungeon. He framed it as him simply trying to mold her into a better hunter, but in actuality was bringing her just so that she could see the cruel reality of it all. One terrifying instance was more than enough to show the truth.
Yeah,
At least that's
well,
how it
that
was
statue,
for him.
I ain't gonna lie,
Now,
bro. They
it
should
was in
have.
between all this that Jinho had his own massive
That's-
scene,
oh my
one that
God.
highlighted the dynamic.
That statue is probably the biggest thing that will make me like read Solo Leveling. That statue alone, like really, that like thinking about all of Sung's like summons that he could possibly get, or like even if he could get his mom revived and meeting up with his dad. For me personally, I'm more attached to that motherfucking statue, bro. Like that statue is what's got me like wanting to go into the archives and then see what the fuck is going on, cause that statue, man, is what got me like alone pretty much hooked on it, like Igris and that statue, because they never talked about that statue again. And I think that's how you're supposed to do it. Like you're supposed to keep people like it can't be so cliche, you know what I mean? Not saying that this is, but that's what they did. Like that statue was just so sinister. It was like toying with everybody, just smiling like that. It was like, damn. Like if you've like played Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that, Obelisk the Tormentor, listen to that name alone. It's like Obelisk the Tormentor, and that motherfucker still looked crazy. Like he was like struck as fuck, looked like a damn demon, like straight up. And then to see it like in like kind of, it was kind of giving me like that type of feeling in Solo Leveling, to just think about like if Obelisk the Tormentor was walking around town tormenting people, he'd be that's who he would be. He'd be that motherfucking statue that was in there. Like that shit is crazy. Like he looks insane. That's why I was like, dude, this statue is like, there's something about this statue. It's crazy.
Dynamic between him, his brother, his father, and even his cousin. The whole event was an ancestral rites ceremony for his grandfather, something
I can
Jinho
already see
wasn't
Jinwoo like
particularly interested in.
cracking a smile, like
He was tucked away in the
rematch,
corner
motherfucker.
out of his mind,
But
paying no attention
I'm scared,
to
bro.
any of the elites currently present.
I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that. Hey, chapter 124 is a spoiler for you guys if you only an anime watcher like myself. Cliche is like expected. Like I saw that coming, or you know, shit like that. It's like it's been done before, over and over, so you expected it to happen. Yeah, that statue has like all my interests in wanting to catch up and read Solo Leveling, because they showed that motherfucker in season 1, and I was like, they ain't never gonna touch up on this thing until like season 3 or 4, which is insane. Like that dude was diabolical. And then it makes me wonder, like, what was the ranks of the soldiers that were in there? You know, it's like, if this statue was a S rank, which I'm assuming straight out of hell that it is S rank, because that's insane. Forget later. Anyway, like he's S rank, and then all the other ones, right? They like little egresses everywhere, and I'm like, dude, never had a chance, not even. But you know, he still stood on business and was like, all of y'all, like, I hate everything. That's how he was like, you know.
This was meant to serve as a contrast to Jinho's brother, who the novel paints as one of the most exceptional people there. With perfect grades and numerous successful business ventures, he was the cream of the crop, while Jinho just couldn't compare.
New manga that are out?
Luckily, Jinho's cousin Suyeon was there to lighten the mood, making fun of his brother and his stuck-up
well, actually, a
attitude.
couple.
Her lighthearted
But
insults weren't
none
something
that I
Jinho
really know
could
the
get
name
behind,
of, since
though,
they're in
since if he wanted
like
to get back
Japanese,
at his
and I'll just
brother,
butcher it.
he knew he simply had to beat him. That brought into conversation
I don't like
the
his brother
topic of
either.
his plan to become a guild master, something Suyeon apparently already knew about.
My bad, y'all.
The reason why that is because as an A-rank hunter herself, she really didn't want to work for Jinho's brother. It was only natural she become a member of
Season
whatever
3,
guild the head
they
of the
gonna talk about
family
the
was
statue?
forming, but to do so under Jin Sung's leadership, well, let's just say she'd rather
2026,
die.
I guess.
I won't get too deep
Until
into what else we
2026.
discussed, but just know that this is where her character is actually debuted. For the anime, it's likely we'll see her later. Now, there was also a scene
I'd
where
watch that.
Jinho's dad would reveal his own impressions, highlighting the harsh tutelage under which Jinho and his siblings were brought up
crazy.
under. It could essentially be described
See, look, it's even to the point where I don't even want to watch the opening cutscenes, like the new opening and like the closing of the animes, because I don't want to see anything that could possibly be a summon for Jinwoo. I want to keep it fresh. I want to keep the surprise, like the suspense. But I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it for the banger music. Or I could just listen to the music without watching it. Season 4? Damn. Well, yeah, you said they're on chapter 66 right now. And that's chapter 124. Yeah, that might be season 4 or a movie. Damn. Cause they're cutting out stuff to keep this pace. The way One Piece does it, they do, I think, 2 or 3 chapters in one episode. But they be dragging some scenes. Like they just be cutting the characters back and forth. Like Luffy face, Doflamingo face, Luffy face, Doflamingo face, Luffy face, Doflamingo face, and they're just getting closer and closer like this. Face, 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 and I'm like, come on.
described as a tiger wanting to raise cubs instead of kittens. Jinho's brother and sister were the cubs, while he unfortunately
got a
was
sister!
seen as the kitten. This brings us now to yet another massive cutscene, one depicting how the Red Gate had become a Red Gate. Long story short, it
This is
was
what I
pretty
wanna know.
much due to professional incompetence. A gate measure
You always got to check it out for episode 1. I don't know, man. I want to read it. You know what? One day, I don't know. Let's see how we'll see how season 2 ends. If they end on some crazy shit, I might have to start reading that bitch.
measuring device was found to be acting up, but rather than report and rescind the permits for the 7 gates it recently measured like how the employees who found the device were supposed to, they instead decided to simply ignore it. The potential trouble it could cause made them feel like they could lose their job over it. Some of those troubles included the additional
Hey, look, that was a fluke. That was probably literally the worst episode I could have shown you of One Piece. Like, they had Katakuri and Luffy about to throw down, and they had fucking Big Mom High School Musical with some cake and sweets. I was like, dude, this is bad. This is bad. It would, like, to be honest, like, that would have been the equivalent of the Solo Leveling live action coming out before the anime did, and then you telling me to watch that. I was like, huh?
resources the association would have to spend remeasuring the gates, while the guilds who bought them would get upset that they couldn't do their raids anymore. Plus, with the additional delay increasing the chances of a dungeon break, all were potential issues that made losing their jobs
Those
seem
are
more and
manga?
more likely. So, for a job like this where getting in was as hard as passing the bar,
Galaxies?
just the thought of losing it was enough to
Partner
make these
math.
employees disregard the error. They were well aware the consequences could
There's no
easily
anime for that?
cost
It's
the
just a
lives of
manga?
the hunters going into these gates, but since nothing was reported in the 2 days since the 7 gates were measured, they figured the remaining 4 left to be completed should be fine as well. That's why the Red Gate was improperly rated.
Oh, wait. Let me play that back. I missed some of the stuff on the Red Gate.
Could lose their job over it. Some of those troubles included the additional resources the association would have to spend remeasuring the gates, while the guilds who bought them would get upset that they couldn't do their raids anymore.
They just be in the sky
Plus,
sometimes,
with the additional delay increasing the chances of a dungeon break, all were potential issues that made losing their job seem more and more likely. So, for a job like this where getting in was as hard as passing the bar, just the thought of losing it was enough to make these employees disregard the error. They were well aware the consequences could easily cost the lives of the hunters going into these gates, but since nothing was reported in the 2 days since the 7 gates were measured, they figured the remaining 4 left to be completed should be fine as well. That's why the red gate was improperly rated. The initial reading was placed at C, but the faulty nature of the measuring device made such a reading inaccurate. It was more likely this gate was at the B or A rank. The fact a red gate spawned was enough to prove it. It was impossible for red gates to spawn from anything lower than the B rank. That's why Beck was so mad when he got here, because the whole thing was a mistake that easily could have been avoided. I mean, even after the gate turned red and the guild called the association still denied that any mistakes were made. They stuck with the conclusion that it was a C rank gate, despite Beck knowing himself that it was higher. So the whole thing just didn't make sense to him. In any case...
Okay. Fuck. So it was I'm a little confused. So was it an A rank gate that turned into an S rank gate, and the association was covering it up, and Beck knew it was higher? So they were saying that it was an A rank gate, but Beck knew it was higher. The Frost elves, the leader was a S rank. He was too high of a level that Jinwoo couldn't take him. Oh, Gabby, the only reason why I think you're a troll is because a lot of the things that you were saying just didn't add up. That's all. Like, you said your favorite game that you played was Halo 2. That game came out like before you were born. A lot of your messages, they look like they're forced to be spelled incorrectly. Your dad's account that you said you were streaming on and like making videos on, there's no activity on that account for 14 years. When you could be posting it on the account that you're talking to me on right now. It just didn't make sense. It was a C rank. Okay, right. It was a C rank that turned to an A. So does that mean like whenever they go into the dungeon, like everything? Okay, that doesn't make sense though for me. So let's say there was like a boss gate, like whenever the last episode, right? The last episode, he got stopped by that other S rank girl before he opened up the boss doors, right? And it was like, the way I see it is like, okay, the whole dungeon can be A, right? But there'll be like, is it normal for them to have a S rank like boss or demon just running around freely? You know what I mean? Because that's crazy. Because I would have assumed that Frost or that Snow Elf dude would be behind a boss door. You know what I mean? So like you'd clear all the A mobs, all the A ranked mobs everywhere, and then you get to the boss area, and then you can choose or have the option to fight this S rank boss, right? But that man was torturing everybody else around. Or was that? See, that's what I'm talking about. I just got so many questions.
Case. The last scene left out from the novel was a small side part showing the home life of An. He was living his bachelor life watching the news, listening to reports of an unexplained explosion within the American Hunters Association headquarters. There were rumors that the cause was due to a new rising talent causing friction among the S-ranked hunters. It was before An could hear more about it, though, that Sung would call and make his request. An believed this to be Sung showing interest in the White Tiger Guild, so it was only natural he say yes to whatever Sung was asking him for. If anything, this was a great way to show just how exceptional the guild's training system was. That brings us to when the Red Gate incident begins, but rather than talk about that and stop halfway through, I'll instead do all of it in the next video. To finish things up, I just want to talk about some extra scenes with Hwang Dong-soo. So, when him and Woo were in the airport, Hwang had actually tried to recruit Woo to the Scavenger Guild. This was an invitation Woo would never accept because both him and the association knew just how terrible both Hwang Dong-soo and his brother were. Okay. I mean, it was obvious what Dong-suk was doing in the dungeons.
Red gates and regular gates are completely different. That's what I was like getting at, is like they wouldn't make them different colors if, you know, they weren't some way, in some shape or form, entirely different. Like the way that I assumed what was going on is that it was like a barricades you can go in and go out freely. boss being locked in a different area or behind a door. Okay. Yeah, because like what I was assuming was it was a blue gate, right? And then whenever they got sucked into the red one was teleporting them to an entirely different area, you know what I'm saying? Like if they're going into the original C rank dungeon, let's say it would be like this place. Like they got diamonds and shit everywhere. And they don't need like snow gear. And then all of a sudden the gate turns into a red gate and it transports them entirely somewhere else. Like whenever Jinwoo used the key to open up that gate, like he forced the gate open and then it teleported them to the castle. Like that's what I'm assuming like a red gate is like. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a gate that requires a key, but it's just a different category of gate. It's just a red gate. So yeah, the video kind of like a little confusing, saying that Beck was being told by the association that it's got to be at A rank or higher of a gate for it to be red. But for them to say that this gate was a red gate entirely as an A, but you got an S rank boss running around, you know, like terrorizing everybody.
But the association could never investigate because Dongsu was his brother. That being the case, Wu really didn't like how either of them never showed guilt for committing the murders he knew they were responsible for. Now, the other scene involved Wu asking Dongsu if he wanted to see his brother, but surprisingly Dongsu said he didn't care for the dead. He was a bit curious about what happened for the funeral, but as of right now, his only concern was the trash his brother left behind. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. It's everything you missed from the events leading up to the Red Gate. I hope what you saw helps you enjoy solo leveling more, and if it did, then leave a like and let me know down in the comments. Be sure to subscribe too, since I'll be making these videos weekly. So, until the next one, ciao!
Subscribed. I want to see episode 2. Cut content has been part of my anime journey for so long. Love the anime AniNews. Keep it up.